Almost all of us have at some point in our lives made a to-do list. And these are the kinds of chores that we have to, or that we feel like we need to get done, the things that we get a little dope hit every time we cross something off and we say, yes, this is what I'm going to get done today. It's a one-dimensional arrangement, usually from most or first to last, of how we're going to prioritize all the different things that tug at us. One dimension is not enough. One of the things that I learned from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is that we really need to prioritize in 2 dimensions. Covey tells us that those 2 dimensions are urgent and important, but he doesn't necessarily tell us how to think about these 2 axes. Urgent, that might be clear enough. I think of it as the time until consequence. If you don't pay that parking ticket, they might give you 14 days before there's a consequence. So we could think about time to consequence in these units of hours, days, weeks. Let's think about right now, today, this week, and somewhere all over. Never could happen. So now we have the urgency axis sorted out in units of time until something happens in the world as a result of our inaction, if we fail to prioritize an activity. The important axis is much more difficult, and here Covey doesn't give us any guidance. I found something that works pretty well for me. I want to share it with you. I've divided the important axis into 3 regions. The top region are those things for which we will receive rich rewards. This is where our dreams come true. Somewhere in the middle, those are the things we do to avoid punishment. If we fail to hand in our homework assignment on time, perhaps the professor will dock us a letter grade. So we want to get it in on time so we can avoid the punishment. There are lots of things in this world that we do simply to avoid punishment, and surprise, surprise, they don't get us the rich rewards. They don't help make our dreams come true. Then finally, in this lower section, are those things that we are apathetic about. If you recall, Covey divides the important versus urgent into 4 quadrants. Most people have no trouble understanding those things that are important and urgent because they're screaming at us. Either we do them to avoid punishment, or we do them because they're very rewarding and the consequences are immediate. Those things that are unimportant and lack urgency, of course, Covey advises us to avoid. Now, we might still find ourselves binge watching Netflix or surfing through the television channels or doing other things that are neither important nor urgent. And when we catch ourselves doing those kinds of things, it's probably a good idea to reflect on what's happening in our life and why we don't have the energy to get into one of these other quadrants. These things that are urgent but unimportant, it would be nice if we had people in our life to delegate. It would be terrific if we didn't feel compelled to do the things that we're apathetic about. We'd like to avoid the unimportant, but it's up here where we really have difficulty. There are few people that are capable of prioritizing what is important but doesn't show up as urgent. So if we're all okay with important, and urgent. And we're practicing our avoiding those things that are unimportant and not urgent. We've delegated or we've hired where we can for those things that are urgent but unimportant. What is going to get those things that are important but not urgent? Things up here are, well, I like to use the example of flossing. What are the consequences if you don't floss? It's not like your teeth fall out of your head the next week. Things like practicing. What are the consequences if you fail to practice your instrument, or you fail to practice whatever it is you're trying to master? Well, you don't suffer an immediate degradation of your skill. Things like exercising. None of these things, if you fail to do them, result in immediate consequences. But we know that they're all important. The way to make sure that this quadrant is getting taken care of is to form a good habit. When you make flossing, practicing, exercising, reading, writing, anything that takes place in this upper left-hand quadrant, a habit, then you will know that it's going to get taken care of without willpower, without scheduling. It's just part of the routine that makes you who you are. This is how I've sorted out Covey's advice to make sure that I form good habits with the important but not urgent. And I hope that works for you.